From the land of melting lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, here we are now into mid-March.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on. March is similar to October. You have a collision of just about every sport. Baseball with spring training, NBA, NHL ramping up. You've got college hoops. You've got college hockey. You've got Major League Soccer. But once again, Sasquatch enters the room. The National Football League, ready to Bigfoot everything in its path. And the NFL, give them credit. They stay in the news cycle in this free agency frenzy. By the way, happy NFL New Year.
Yes, thank you very much.
Did you have confetti and champagne and cake for the occasion?
Well, I will say this. I celebrated the fact that the Minnesota Vikings chose not to spend $40 million on bringing Sam Darnold back. I watched those last two games of the year, and apparently the Vikings were well aware of that. But, in all seriousness, they needed to move on from Sam Darnold because, look, they have other holes they have to fill. They can't spend 40 of the $60 million that they have on one guy at the quarterback position. They have J.J. McCarthy's coming up. We know he's unproven at this point. But to spend that all on Sam Darnold, he was very good. Don't get me wrong. He was very good. But will he be very good in Seattle? It becomes another question. Does he have the same weapons? He doesn't have DK Metcalf. We know that. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson. We know that. He's not going to have Aaron Jones. By the way, the Vikings get Aaron Jones back. So I think it remains to be seen how this is going to pan out for him. He was not very good in his first 5 years in the NFL.
Well, Sam's cashing in. He took his one really good season minus the final two games against Detroit and the L.A. Rams.
Or the middle two games against Detroit and the Rams.
Yeah, only the Minnesota Vikings could lose 4 games to 2 teams back-to-back. Who else has done that? But, hey, look, it's the NFL. All it takes is one team to fall in love with you. Pittsburgh was supposedly kicking the tires on Darnold, but Seattle, after the Seahawks dealt Geno Smith to Las Vegas to reunite him with Pete Carroll, his old coach, suddenly the Seahawks had a vacancy. I wish Sam well. I don't know. I mean, the Seahawks didn't make the playoffs last season. What's their O-line look like? We certainly have a blueprint on how to rattle Sam Darnold. That was created by Aaron Glenn, then the Lions defensive coordinator, and followed up by the Los Angeles Rams and Chris Shula in the playoff game. So I hope the Seahawks have a quick rhythm offense. So if Sam drops back, there's a clock going 1, 2, 3, throw.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll see. And now the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, whatever happens, if he's the guy, they got him on a rookie deal, so they don't have to pay him for a while. Is Daniel Jones in the mix? Do they go out and get somebody else? But they will, if they do bring in another veteran, won't have to pay Darnold or Kirk Cousins type money.
Ooh, boy, yeah. Think about that. The last 2 years, the Viking quarterbacks who have left cashed in huge. First, the Atlanta Falcons, they give the Denver Mint to our guy and Kirk Cousins, and then Sam Darnold gets it in Seattle. So
this is a quarterback launching pad, Minnesota.
So wait a minute. J.J. McCarthy's already figuring, okay, where can I go the year after next?
Probably out to L.A. with his old coach Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. The Vikings have a lot of things they have to address. The defense, who's going to stay, who's going to go.
Right.
I'll say this. Can you keep winning with a revolving door at quarterback? It's difficult in the NFL.
Unbelievable.
I know Denny Green did well with it back in the day. Randall Cunningham came in for a while, and Warren Moon and Jim McMahon, Rich Gannon. And then, of course, Chile had Brett Favre for 2 years. But you really need stability. The Minnesota Vikings need J.J. McCarthy to become who they think he is.
Okay, Denny Green.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it happens. But we do know they get Aaron Jones back, that's for sure. And that'll only help whoever's at the quarterback helm this year.
And Justin Jefferson, you're going to have to get used to somebody else throwing you the football.
He'll be fine.
As usual.
I'm not worried about Justin Jefferson. All right. We're going to talk some spring training baseball with a former Twins great.
All right. We are 10K Takes, your purple ticket.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back, 10,000 Takes, Wally and Eric, and we are down the home stretch now for spring training in both Arizona and Florida, of course. Your Minnesota Twins training in Fort Myers. And we're going to talk some baseball now. Our guy Joe Nathan, the former Twins great, Twins Hall of Famer, all-time saves leader in Twins history, joins us. And Joe, as you look back at your days in spring training, how important was it, spring training, to get you ready for the season? Or did you have to come in ready to go?
Well, I mean, that's changed over the decades for sure. You know, I think it used to be that guys had to work in the off season, so spring training was really their time to come in, get in shape for the season, and then as you know, as the paychecks have gotten better and guys use the off season now for their big lifting program and getting in shape. So most guys are coming into spring training really ready to roll outside of getting their reps in for game action, seeing live pitching, seeing some hitters in the box. I always joked around for us pitchers. I think the biggest thing for us was to go stand in the outfield and shag and get our backs in shape, because that's basically what we're doing all season until we finally get some game action in there. So, you know, right now though, guys they're coming in ready to go. I mean, you're seeing guys that are not just in shape, but they're coming in, you know, throwing mid-90s right from the jump. So, you know, I think you're seeing it more and more and more that, you know, spring training is more so probably more important for them to gel as a team, get the chemistry down. You know, there's sometimes some new faces in there, some new bodies. So getting to know guys, going out to eat with some guys and getting to see what makes them click and so they can hit the ground running when opening day comes around.
Joe, it seems like every sport now wants to be in the news cycle year round. The NFL is exhibit A, B, and C, but Major League Baseball is trying to stay in the news as well. Now you're talking about the regular season opening in late March every year. It wasn't that way when you played, and you haven't been out of the game that long. Do you like the fact the season starts in March? I've always thought that was reserved for Florida and Arizona, spring training.
You know, we'll see how this works. You know, I thought, to be honest, it would go the opposite way. It seems like our seasons have kind of shifted a little bit. And it seems like, you know, it was always what I remember was April was always the coldest month. And, you know, you were playing games, especially in our division, you were playing games that were 30 something degrees and, you know, the wind whipping, whether it be in Chicago or Kansas City, wherever you are. I always said, man, I feel like we almost got to kind of push our season back a little bit. And it seems like it was warmer in November than it is in April. So we'll see how this plays out for them. You know, I think they're going to they're going to run into some weather like they always do. You know, you always see how they plan the schedule with days off and stuff like that to plan for those bad weather times, especially in the north. Another thing I wish they would do is, it seemed like we always played Texas in Minnesota in the early stage of the season, and then
Yeah.
we played at Texas when it was August. And I was always like, why can't we just flip flop those two dates right there and play in Texas in April and be at our place in August? But you know, it's things like that where they punch it into the computer and see what spits out and go with it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with the season starting about a week earlier.
With spring training this year, we've got the initiation of what we might see long term in Major League Baseball. We've seen the rules changes over the years. Of course, they added the pitch clock a couple of years ago. I think people have acquiesced to that. I think that they're used to it now. Now the automatic balls and strikes, the ABS system, is being used where you can challenge a pitch, whether you're the batter or you're the pitcher, and your team gets two of them a game, assuming you're not wrong. If you're wrong, then that's it. You get just the two. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like that idea? It seems like the minor leaguers kind of liked it. Those guys who have been in the minors, who have been running through this now, they seem to like it. What are your thoughts?
You know, technology's becoming more important, more and more a part of the game. You see it with how these guys are preparing. You know, I think it was more feel for us when we were, you know, trying to find our pitches and release point and stuff like that. Now you're seeing TrackMan and all the numbers they can kind of gauge off of. So technology has jumped into the game. So I personally, just jumping off, I love the clock. I think that's done absolute wonders for the game. I think, you know, the game moves along nicely. They do it in college ball too. I think the game is a lot more fun to watch. I think it moves at a really good click now, a good pace. So going into this ABS, it's kind of, I think it's going to be an experiment for them. It's going to be interesting to see how it works. I mean, for me, with all the technology, I just don't see why they can't throw an earpiece into an umpire's ear, and when it is a close call, bubble call on the balls and strikes, they can get like a beep, kind of in tennis when they used to have something beep when it was a really close call on a serve. I was wondering if they can do that with an umpire where it's a close call and they can get a beep in their ear, and then the game will keep moving. So I think that's the one thing I'm wondering about, is how much it's going to slow the game down, and see if that's something that fans like, that players like. Again, is it also something, I believe this is true, that only the players can call for a challenge? It can't
I
come
believe
from
you're
the
correct. Yeah, either the pitcher or the batter.
And I think that's probably with them thinking this has got to be something that flows and keeps the game moving. So, you know, if a pitcher catcher, I would assume the catcher is going to make that call. You know, most pitchers are probably going to argue every call, so they'll want to challenge everything. So it's probably going to come from the catcher more so. But you know, this is all about getting the correct calls. So you know, they're going to limit it to two. Is it two a game?
Two,
You guys
yep,
said
2 per team per game.
Yep. Two per team per game. So, I mean, there won't be that many per game. But again, I think they could, like I said, with the technology these days, I think they could make this even better and just put it in the hands of the umpire to have something in their earpiece if they're okay with that.
Joe, you're one of the select few in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. You've put on that powder blue blazer and gone through the induction. It's a special day. It's usually on a Saturday in August, and it's fun to view it. I'm sure it's incredible to be part of it like you have been. Tell us about Corey Koski going in. What was Koski like as a teammate? Here's a guy from a small town in Manitoba, used to play hockey, baseball, and then he comes down and does some great things for your club, the Twins. You got a Corey story for us?
I have nothing. I wish we had Morneau. I'm sure Morneau has some really good ones with him. You know, they were definitely more tight. But you know what I do know of him as a teammate, he was tough as nails. You know, nothing would affect him. You see injuries, you see him get drilled. He was a tough dude out there. I've loved him at third base. Great defensively. You know, this is probably a long time coming for him. You know, it's well deserved. You know, he was somebody that I saw on the list all the time, and I'm just glad that he's getting in there. It's going to be a cool moment for him because, like I said, I think this is a long time coming for him. So I think it's gonna mean even more for him to get in there, and I'm looking forward to his speech and hearing plenty of stories. I'm sure I'm going to hear from Morneau as we get into this thing.
If you were to put your commissioner's hat on and you could make one change in Major League Baseball, what would it be?
Oh, man. Oh, boy. If I could put my hat on and make a change. You know, it's a tough gig, obviously, doing that job. I mean, like I said, they're making so many drastic changes as we're moving forward, and I think everything's been to entertain the fans more and make this game move. I still like old school stuff. I don't want to change too much about this game. I still, you know, I love the clock. I think it moves it along, but it's also a game that never had a clock and didn't have to, but understandably the way the world turns and keeping people interested in the sport, I think that was key. I guess my one change would be for them to get rid of the thing they just changed, and that's the pickoff rule. You know, I think they're looking and searching for things to speed this game up, and they thought that'd be one way to, I guess, get some more action going. But to sit there and tell a pitcher that, you know, where we've been taught our whole lives how to hold runners on and keep guys close and keep them from taking that extra 90 feet, and they're almost crippling the pitchers a little bit by that rule. So it's not like pitchers are throwing over 4 and 5 times. That's not happening too often anyway before the rule was changed. So I think that'd be something I'd switch back.
All right, Joe, appreciate you spending some spring training time with us and some insight on what the rules and what spring training looks like these days. And we'll check in with you, you know, mid-season, get your thoughts on how your old club is doing.
Absolutely. I always look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
See you, Joe.
See you guys.
He is Joe Nathan, the Twins' all-time saves leader and, of course, Hall of Famer in the Twins Hall of Fame. We are 10,000 Takes, back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
Dream jobs can feel out of reach when reading is a challenge.
Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see. Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see. Minnesota is approaching.
According to literacyactionnetwork.org, Minnesota is approaching a worker shortage due to an aging and retiring workforce and the growing skill needs of employers resulting from globalization and technological change. As it stands, Minnesota's adult workforce will not be able to accommodate the employee needs of employers. Nearly 1 in 5 Minnesotans over age 25 do not have a high school diploma, and many who do still lack the basic skills necessary for employment. Learning to read is fun and essential. Reading Out Loud Literacy is sponsored by City of Minneapolis Community Trauma Response Fund.
Wally and Eric from 10,000 Takes here in the land of lakes. And if you want sports of all sorts, check us out. We cover all the bases, all the teams in the great state of Minnesota.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, Timberwolves, Loons, you name it, we do it. Late night Saturday night on Fox 9 Plus and on the Fox local app.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back. 10,000 takes rolling along. We've talked baseball. We've talked football. That leaves, at least for now anyway, basketball and hockey. Let's get into the Timberwolves a little bit. As we record this show, they're healthy, so to speak. Rudy Gobert came back over the weekend. We've got DiVincenzo back and Julius Randle back last week. They have been such an up and down team, though. I mean, win 4 or 5, lose 3 or 4, barely stay above 500, and they have been. But this is their opportunity now to get into that 6th position, or maybe even the 5th in the West, so that they don't have to play in that play-in round. They're not going to be in the top 4. I don't think that's a stretch at this point. But with 16 games left as you start this week, I think that this is an opportunity that they can take advantage of if they can, continue to play and play well.
Yeah, and the schedule is conducive to the T-Wolves getting on a run. As we tape, they're on a 5-game winning streak. With the exception of a game at Denver midweek, the rest of the games, and most of them at home, by the way, in Minneapolis, are definitely on paper, air quotes, winnable. So maybe they rip off 10 out of 12, 12 out of 14, and then you're solidly entrenched at the 5 or 6 spot and maybe can knock on the door of that number 4 seed. But I think the big key is, and I'm on the record, as are you and many others, don't like the cat trade. But one thing that you have to allow time for, at least for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, is the chemistry aspect. You can't just bring 2 guys in and expect it to click right away. And it seems like maybe now they're more comfortable with their teammates, and on the flip side, the guys who have been here are more comfortable with them. But they still have a long ways to go, because that West is full of landmines. And with Luka to the LA Lakers just makes the Lakers, they think they can win it. And Jimmy Butler, of all guys,
to Golden State.
My goodness.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the 2 guys that came in the cat trade, there's 2 factors that have been working in their favor as I watch them more and more. First of all, DiVincenzo started out shooting horribly. I mean, he couldn't he couldn't throw a pea into the ocean. And then as time has worn on, his shot has come back. And he's a dangerous 3-point shooter. And then Julius Randle, who is basically an ISO-type player, has become more of a distributor. And he's going to get assists. And they need him to do that because he can score. So if they do double him, he's got to find that open guy. So I think that these
dish it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dimes are okay.
They are. Okay, your Wild, the other topic I wanted to hit on. Yeah, they're probably going to make the playoffs, but man, they can't win at home. What is going on?
No, and they're embarking on a 7-game homestand. They started it with a loss to Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby had a couple of goals on Sunday in St. Paul. Yeah, 14-1 going into their next home game with Colorado. Unacceptable. You've got to find a way to protect home ice. They used to be very good in St. Paul. I think teams would come in there and know it was going to be a long night. And now the Wild have a chance, though, to change that narrative. They can flip the script on this long homestand if they can win some games. And isn't it the way it goes? The Timberwolves and the Wild both have their longest stints at home at basically the same time.
Of course they do.
That's because we have dual arenas here.
Well, that's a good thing, though. I like it. All right, more to come. Takes of the day coming up next. You won't want to miss that. Stay with us. We are 10,000.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I am owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see. Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see.
British A. Robinson, President and CEO of the Barbara Bush Foundation, stated, "America's low literacy crisis is largely ignored, historically underfunded and woefully under-researched, despite being one of the great solvable problems of our time. Learning to read is fun and essential." Reading Out Loud Literacy is sponsored by City of Minneapolis Community Trauma Response Fund.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the viewers up in the Twin Ports, the Twin Cities, up and down that I-35 corridor that gets busier and busier.
Okay.
Takes of the day. Are you
forget something?
Just making a slow pivot.
Okay.
What's your mood? You angry? You happy? Somewhere in the middle?
I don't know. You be the judge. I think I'm kind of giddy about this one. So I know it's in the rear view mirror here, but the boys state hockey tournament, which was held at the XL Energy Center this past weekend, was again just a spectacular event. It's just unbelievable. If you have never been to the boys state hockey tournament here in Minnesota, put it on your calendar and go do it next year, because you won't be sorry. Especially if you're a hockey fan. I don't even think you have to be a big hockey fan. I think you just enjoy the environment. They have an expo down there. You got the best high school players in the country going against each other, let's face it. And we had a championship game where Moorhead goes out to a 5-1 lead and has to hang on at the end. They win 7-6 over Stillwater. And then you get East Grand Forks, a team that was a 500 team during the regular season, and they upset St. Cloud Cathedral in overtime 2-1 in the Class A. A full house at the X on Saturday night. Over 20,000 people to watch a high school hockey game. Think about that for a minute. And they did not disappoint. As I said, the talent on the ice is unbelievable.
Let's see what the mood meter says.
Yes.
Oh, he's a giddy guardian. 2 straight weeks of you being in a good mood.
Well,
must be the weather.
Spring is here, baby.
Spring has sprung.
Kind of.
All right, well, my take of the day, let's talk soccer. Minnesota United has now played 3 matches. Their next one is at Sporting KC Saturday night down in Kansas. I don't gamble like you do. You're from Ohio, the home of Art Schleister and Pete Rose. But if I were to gamble and put a bet on this one, I'm going to say 1-0. Because Minu in their first 3 games has lost 1-0 to LAFC, knocked off Montreal 1-0, and got a win at San Jose last week 1-0. So that seems to be the score. Kevin Yeboah had the only goal against the Earthquakes.
Wow.
Dane St. Clair, the Canadian Olympian, has been very good in goal, but the Minnesota United defense doesn't even give up many shots. So I'm gonna take the big risk here and say that Saturday night in Kansas, it'll be Sporting KC 1 and Minu 0.
Well, the Minnesota Wild are having those same problems. They can't score either.
No, they can't. All right, we got to say goodbye. Thanks for tuning us in. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.